welcome to a new video. Welcome to my channel. My name is Rose and thank you for taking the time out to click that thumbnail. How's everybody doing today? I hope you're having an amazing day and I hope you're having a wonderful week. Today's video is part 2 of my 2022 Declutter Series, decluttering all of my eyeshadow palettes. This is definitely going to be another ongoing series this year, where I am slowly but surely going to dive into my makeup and declutter things that just no longer bring me joy or things that I am no longer going to use. I will have part 1 of this listed in the cards if you didn't happen to catch the first video, as this will definitely be a 3-4 part series over here on my channel. I will also have my Macari app listed down below in the description box of this video if you are interested in any of these palettes that I'm getting rid of. I will be gradually listing them, any of the ones that are gently used. So if you want to see how many palettes I am about to declutter for part 2, then just make sure to keep on watching. But you guys, before we get into this, if you like these kind of videos and you want to see more, make sure to stop right now and like this video. And if you want to see more videos from me, then make sure you're subscribed. I put out content weekly, so you don't want to miss out on all the fun. Also, make sure to check the down bar for all my other links to all my other social media platforms. Without further ado, let's just go ahead and hop on in and declutter some more palettes. So we still have quite a ways to go on my eyeshadow palette collection. I am going to do these in segments and can really only do so many palettes in a video without the video just seeming too long of a video. I really don't want it to be a 2 or 3 hour video. Plus it's really hard for me to export any super long videos from my camera. So I figured to just break it down into a couple different segments and we turn it into a series over here. It really seems to work for you guys. I will pop up a disclaimer on the screen. Please pause the video and take a second to read that. I do have a goal set in mind to where I plan to try to declutter anywhere between 40 to 50 eyeshadow palettes during this declutter. My number has surpassed the number of eyeshadow palettes that I started with last year, which was 178, and I think I decluttered 77 palettes last year, which was definitely a lot. This year, I don't necessarily mean I'm going to be as brutal, but I still want to bring my collection down to size and just get rid of palettes that are no longer serving a purpose in my collection. Let's just go ahead and start from the top here. As you can see, the first 2 palettes on the top of the pile are 2 Jeffree Star palettes. The first of which is the Jeffree Star Cremated, as well as the Jeffree Star Jawbreaker. And the Jeffree Star Cremated palette, we'll go ahead and start with her. So this is another palette that was actually gifted to me from my friend Adelina over on Instagram. And as you can see, this is just a beautiful, cool tone, smoky lover's dream of a palette. And I'll say it again, I know Jeffree Star has a lot of controversy around him as a person, but I will say his formula is really, really nice. Though I haven't really invested in his brand and bought many more palettes or anything from him, the Jawbreaker was really the only palette I ever bought. Even though he has a lot of other gorgeous palettes, I just don't want to really buy from him. So because this one was sent to me as a gift is the reason why I have this in my collection. But with that being said, it was sent to me as a gift, but I've never even used it not one time. It looks beautiful. I know his formula is great, but for the sake of just trying to get my collection down to size, even just a little bit, I will go ahead and declutter this one. The Jawbreaker palette from Jeffree Star Cosmetics. Now, I think I'm going to go ahead and hold on to this one just because it is a great colorful palette, and the matte colorful shades in here are really pigmented. They're very beautiful, very easy to work with. The shimmers aren't really the star of this palette. It's definitely the matte shades, but I do like to reach for this whenever I'm looking for a pigmented, colorful matte shade. I tend to reach for this palette a lot for that. And of course, there is a couple pops of neutrals in here as well. So for now, I'm going to go ahead and continue to hold on to Jawbreaker. Up next, we have the Lorac Mega Pro 4 palette, and it's a really pretty palette, as you can see. It's just doesn't really call to me anymore, nor did it really ever call to me. I think I just kind of watched a YouTuber, I couldn't tell you who, but I watched a YouTuber one day talking about this, and it was an impulse buy for me. I think I did get this on sale, but I haven't really ever used it but one time, so it is just kind of sitting here, as do the majority of my palettes, just because I have too freaking many. I think I'm just gonna go ahead and declutter this. Up next, we have the Morphe 25L palette. This is the Living in Color beautiful rainbow palette. Sadly, I just don't use this. It just has not gotten a lot of use. It's beautiful, don't get me wrong. I do love those colors, but I've just never really been a fan of Morphe's bigger palettes. I've kind of outgrown them. I think I've kept this one plus 3 others on my last year's declutter. I got rid of the majority of them last year, and I decided to hold on to this one. And even though it sits in the forefront of my vanity, I still fail to reach for this. And just looking at it, it is stunning. It is such a beautiful palette. And I know some of these shades are really unique, like 1978 is really pretty. Liberation is a beautiful shade. So part of me wants to just go ahead and declutter this, but other part of me wants to hold on to it in an attempt to try to use it. And because it was limited edition, that's another thing that's really holding me to want to continue to hold on to it for a little while longer. So I think for now, I will go ahead and just continue to hold on to it and try to see if I can't get some use out of it this year. Up next is the Morphe X Jeffree Star palette. Now, this is a really pretty palette as well. It's a very pinky tone vibe palette. Very strawberry-esque types of vibes I get from this because of the greens down there, as well as those pink shades. I do really like this one because it has a lot of lighter transition shades to work with, and a lot of these shades are really nice and foily, but I just don't use it, nor will I think I ever really am going to get much more use out of her. It's very gently used, so I will possibly list this one on Mercari. And with that being said, I think I'm just going to go ahead and declutter it. Up next is my Adept Z palette, basically. Now, this palette basically holds all of my indie brand single shadows, such as Give Me Glow Cosmetics, JD Glow in there. I also have some Cleona in here, some Terra Moon shadows, as you can see, a lot of Adept, some Looksy Beauty, and just all of my single shadows in general. Now, these actually do get a lot of use because I keep this on the forefront of my vanity as well. So I do really enjoy these shadows. They're so beautiful, and I'm definitely going to be continuing to hold on to my single shadows. Up next, we have the Tom Ford Suze LeSable eyeshadow palette, and this is just your neutral lover's dream day-to-day eyeshadow palette, and it's freaking Tom Ford, you guys. A Tom Ford is very expensive. I don't think I could ever have the heart to get rid of this thing just because of how expensive it is, though it was sent to me NPR via influencer. It's still beautiful. I like to use this a lot before work, and those matte shades blend out so beautifully, and it's a really good formula, so I'm definitely going to be continuing to hold on to her. Up next is my Give Me Glow Pastel Dreams palette, which I absolutely love. I love all of my Give Me Glow palettes. They're so freaking beautiful and so good. Not only is it the Give Me Glow's amazing formula, it is a beautiful color story and just perfect for springtime coming up and just fun, colorful, light and bright looks that you can create with this palette. I absolutely love this. She is definitely not going anywhere. She is a total keep for me. Up next is my Too Faced Teddy Bear palette, which is actually my 2022 Pan That palette for this year. I will list in the cards my 2022 PTP series if you want to go check it out and see how well I've done, but you're going to get a little sneak peek because as I open this up to show you, you can see the progress that I've made so far. This was the palette that you guys picked for my 2022 PTP over on my Instagram. With over 3,000 likes, she was the winner. winner. I like to have you guys kind of vote and pick my PTPs for me. It makes it more fun and interesting. And it's just a great staple palette. Great for day-to-day looks. And you can also really glam it up and darken things up and get real sultry. And it's just a great palette. I really love to reach for this on a daily basis before going to work. And it's beautiful. I talk about it often and will continue to talk about and rave about this for the rest of the year as I am again panning her. So because it's my PTP and it's just a really pretty palette and I do enjoy the formula, I will go ahead and continue to obviously hold on to her. Up next, I have these two from Nomad Cosmetics that were sent to me from the brand. These are eyeshadow quads. One is called Incentas and the other one is Malibu. Now, I haven't really reached for and used these a lot. I mean, don't get me wrong, I am grateful. They were sent to me last year, but I just really failed to use them. Not to say that they're bad or anything or that I dislike it, because you guys already know that I love Nomad's formula. So here is Malibu. Real beautiful Malibu vibes type of palette, literally. And then here is Incentas, which has that beautiful pop of blue. I really like the shade Carve right there. It's just a great palette. I just failed to really use both of them. And I don't really know why I don't really use them. But also part of me doesn't want to get rid of them either. But I think I'm just going to go ahead and say the time has finally come. I will go ahead and declutter both of these just because I don't use them and I really want somebody else to get some enjoyment out of them. Maybe somebody who has yet to try Nomad's formula. These would be a great way to really dip in and try the formula to see if you do like Nomad's formula, because let me tell you, I absolutely love Nomad's formula. So this is in no way saying that I'm getting rid of them because I don't like them or don't like the formula, because it is amazing. Definitely one of my top 5 in formula, but I just not going to use them and I'd rather see somebody else get some love out of them. So these are both going to be a declutter.
2,000 years later.
Up next is my Made by Mitchell Head in the Clouds palette. Now this was actually a PTP option for this year's Pan That palette, but it didn't get enough votes to be the winning palette. But it is still a beautiful palette nonetheless. I really love the color story in here. I mean, it kind of doesn't make sense, but it also kind of does. And not to mention, the formula on this is really, really, really nice. There are some beautiful shades in here, especially like the shade Eclipse is absolutely stunning, you guys. It is the most creamiest, foiliest metallic shade ever. Golden Hour is really beautiful. Twinkle is really beautiful. Just all of them. The mattes are so buttery smooth, so velvety, and it's very pigmented, very rich. I absolutely love this palette. Sorry, I can't fit it all the way into my screen here. So this one is definitely beautiful. She's gorgeous, and she's not going anywhere. So this one is a keep for me. Up next is this Aether Beauty Moonlight Crystal palette, and I did purchase this with my own money, and it's a great palette. Don't get me wrong. I also actually have the other one here. Let me get it. It did just come in this month's BoxyCharm, which is the Aether Beauty Desert Sunrise, I believe. Yeah, Desert Sunset palette. So I have two Aether Beauty palettes here. The Moonlight Crystal palette, as you can see, is just a tad bit bigger than the Desert Sunset. And it's really pretty, don't get me wrong. I just fail to reach for her. I don't really know why I don't use it, but I don't really use it. So it's just mainly like shimmer shades and metallic shades in here. I think that's probably why. There are a couple matte shades in here, and I do love a good purple and blue toned palette, but I just don't use it. Now, as compared to the Desert Sunset, this is a warm tone palette and it's beautiful, and I really do love the looks that I create with it. And these are the only two Aether Beauty palettes that I own, but part of me wants to declutter one of them just because And I'm thinking probably more so the Moonlight Crystals palette. So I got to get rid of that mentality of thinking, oh, you know, wanting to hold on to everything, knowing I'm just not going to use them. My collection is huge, and this is literally me just kind of talking myself into knowing I need to let go of stuff, and I need to get better about not needing to feel the need to buy every single palette that I like or a palette that looks pretty. I don't need to buy it. This is a hard one, you guys, because I do really enjoy both of these palettes. Formula, again, this one came in my BoxyCharm last month. This one I did purchase with my own money, but I guess if I'm going to get rid of one of them, oh, I really don't want to get rid of either one, you guys. I'm struggling here. But if I have to get rid of one, I suppose I'm going to get rid of the Moonlight Crystal palette just because I haven't used it. So I'll go ahead and declutter this one, and I'll keep for now the Desert Sunset palette. Up next, we have the With Love Cosmetics, the blue one. And this is just a blue palette, basically, but it's so beautiful. Those glitter shades are really creamy and really easy to pick up with on a brush, which is why I really love it. Plus, I love a blue palette anyways and blue eyeshadow. So I'm definitely going to go ahead and continue to hold on to her because she is really a special palette. Up next, we have the Beauty Bay X Nikki Tutorials palette, and I love this palette, you guys. This palette is so dang pretty. The formula is beautiful. The only shade that really kind of bums me out is the shade Ivy. It's supposed to be an icy white metallic shade, but it's really hard to pick up and stuff, and it's really hard to use. But other than that, these shades are gorgeous, like all in. Underground is really beautiful. Mr. Tutorials, just all of them. The shade Pride is stunning. The shade Roxy Catan is beautiful. It's just a gorgeous palette. Nikki Tutorials did an excellent job on this palette. I really love her, and she's definitely not going anywhere, so she's going to be another keep for me. Up next is the Ofra Good to Go palette, and this also came in a BoxyCharm. It is mainly like a face palette with some like colorful eyeshadows from Ofra, and of course we all know and love Ofra's highlighter formula, so that's the main reason I really like to use it, is to use the highlight shade. Plus there is a really pretty blush shade in here, and this bronzer is really nice as well. And because I did just kind of recently get this, I'm going to continue to hold on to it and see how I feel, you know, about those eyeshadows up there, how well they perform, how well they don't perform. So for now, I'm going to go ahead and hold on to it. Well, so far, my keep pile is definitely higher than my declutter pile on this video, but that's okay. I'm not going to go through and declutter a whole ton of my collection if I choose not to, if I don't feel like I want to get rid of them. So up next, we have the ColourPop Sweet Talk palette. This is just a beautiful peachy, pinky toned palette. Real pretty palette. I think this is perfect for the springtime. I do really enjoy this palette. Now, on last year's declutter, I did get rid of quite a few of my ColourPop palettes, but I kept her, and I think I want to continue holding on to her just because it's such a great, versatile palette. The shade Side to Side is also one of the Super Shocks in here, so it's really quite a special palette. I do really like her. I just need to use it more. Again, story of my life, but for now, I'm gonna go ahead and hold on to it. Which is, again, another reason why I decided to set my goal of decluttering my number of 40 to 50 this year rather than 60 to 70 like it was last year, just because I knew it was going to be a little bit harder for me to let go of some of my palettes this year. But I do want to try to keep the trend going of doing an eyeshadow declutter every year, even if I'm only able to let go of, let's say, 10 palettes. With that being said, the next palette is the BH Cosmetics Love in London palette. And this is just a beautiful, cool tone lover's dream of a palette. She is really, really stunning, and the shades in here, especially the metallic shades, are so incredibly creamy and so foily. I did a no pan left behind with this palette where I had to use every eyeshadow in the palette. For a while there last year, I was doing that little No Pan Left Behind series, and it was a lot of fun and a good way to help me use all my eyeshadows in every one of my palettes. And let me tell you, every look that I created with this palette for that challenge came out stunning. But I think actually it's time for me to go ahead and let it go, to potentially let somebody else get some good use out of it, or to just make some room for some different palettes in my collection that I have since acquired, because I've definitely have acquired quite a few palettes this past year. So I'm gonna go ahead and let it go. Up next is the ABH Norvina collection. Now this is the mini Pro Pigment palette, the volume 3. This is actually the mini version of, let me grab it because I do have the full size as well. So she is actually the mini version of the Norvina Volume 3 palette right here. Since I have both of these, I mean, it is beautiful. I love blues and purples and just these tones in general. And I have the mini one, which I sadly have never used, not one stinking time yet. At all. I don't know why. I know my friend Jess over on Instagram absolutely raves and loves this palette, but I just failed to reach for her. I bought it brand spanking new with my own money and never used it, not one time. In almost 2 years now it's been since I've bought her. I think the reason might be because of the reds in here. I'm just not a fan of red eyeshadow, and I guess I just didn't realize upon purchasing it. And of course, I'm an eyeshadow palette junkie, so I want to buy everything. Whether I use it or not is another story. And then again, here is the full-size Norvina Volume 3 palette. And she's pretty. It's okay. It's just not my favorite formula. And it's just so big and bulky of a palette. It's really hard to store. And I'm just not the fan of big palettes anymore. Not like I used to be when Morphe was all the craze. And I think I'm actually just going to go ahead and honestly declutter both of these because I just don't use them, nor will I. And why not let somebody else get some use out of them? So I'm going to go ahead and let go of both of these. Up next is the Natasha Denona Cupid eyeshadow palette, and this just came in this month's Boxy Luxe, which is really a beautiful palette. I really want to hold on to it just to try it, but of course it has the trend on reasons why I don't like palettes, and that is what? Reds. So it has these reds in here, and that's the main reason that's preventing me from really wanting to keep it, just because I know I don't like red eyeshadow. I don't know why. It just doesn't look very flattering on me, I feel. I mean, she is a beautiful palette, don't get me wrong, but I don't want to hold on to it just because it's Natasha Denona. It's the only like 5-pan mini size palette that I have. Now I have a ton of her actual minis, the 4-pan minis, but this is the only 5-pan mini that I have from her. So I think I'm just going to go ahead and declutter this one and let somebody else get some use out of it. It's brand new, never been used or swatched or anything, so I will go ahead and just declutter this. I can't believe I'm going to declutter it, but I'm going to let it go. Next up is just a Z palette. Now this is just an empty palette. I'm not even going to put this in my pile over here just because, I mean, there are some eyeshadows in here, but it's just a Z palette that I use to store random single shadows in. Now I have these two from Adept Cosmetics, which are the replacement shades in the Plain Jane palette, which we will get to if I haven't already. So this is definitely just a keep. I'm going to hold on to it. It's my Z palette. I like to store single shadows in here. I also can take out this insert, so I am going to hold on to this. It's a great magnetic palette. Okay, just a few more left and we'll go ahead and wrap up part 2. Let's go ahead and grab these next 2 palettes. So these next 2 palettes are from Indie Beat Cosmetics. The first one of which is called the Heartthrobs palette, which is a real pretty, colorful, beautiful teals in there. There's lots of pressed glitters in these palettes, which is why I'm not really a big fan of them. And then this one is the Bombshells palette, which is just a very bright and vibrant, fun palette, as you can see. It is stunning. It's absolutely beautiful, but I've never used it. I've never used it, not one time, and I'm actually glad that I did it because I think I'm going to go ahead and declutter both of these just because, again, I just have too much, you guys. I just have too many eyeshadow palettes. It's not that the formula is bad. They're actually really, really stunning palettes. Now, this one I did use once or twice, but I'm just also not a fan of those pressed glitters that come in eyeshadow palettes like this. So I will go ahead and let go of both of these. Up next is the Halo Berlin palette from Essence Cosmetics. Now, Essence was kind enough to send this over to me last October. Not this past coming October, but the October prior to that. So that's how long I've had it. It's beautiful. I love these grungy tones that it has, but I think I'm just going to let it go. Some of the shimmers are a little bit hard to pick up. I've noticed. I did try to create a look or two with her. It's pretty, don't get me wrong. Essence is extremely affordable. I think this will be a great addition to anybody's collection. But when holding on to it, it just doesn't really bring me as much joy as it once used to. So with that, I think it's time to go ahead and let it go. Up next is this Viseart Paris Edit palette. Just a really, really beautiful pinky rosy toned palette, and Viseart has a really great formula. I just failed to reach for this a lot just because of where it's never really in the forefront of my vision for me to reach for. But I do love these tones, and I hear nothing but great things about Viseart's formula. So I don't have the heart to let go of this one yet. I do want to hold on to it for a little while longer. This is the only Viseart palette that I own, and I think I'm actually going to leave this one on my vanity, put it in like one of my monthly rotate your stashes, or have it be a 1 week one palette coming soon. So I'm definitely going to go ahead, and for now I will continue to hold on to her. It's just a gorgeous palette, and I want to try the formula, so this one will be a keep. Up next is this Too Faced Forbidden Fruitcake. I just love their names of their palettes, and the packaging and the way they smell, and everything is just always so stinking cute when it comes to Too Faced's palettes. Now this one just came in my Diva Fresh subscription box this month. So I do work with Diva Fresh. They're kind of like BoxyCharm, where they send a monthly beauty subscription service to your door every month. And let me tell you, they actually have really great products in their boxes each month. It's beautiful. Look at it. Stunning, stunning little palette. But I think I'm just going to let it go. Not because I don't like it. I love Too Faced. I'm panning the teddy bear palette from Too Faced. But I think I'm just going to let it go and let somebody else get some enjoyment out of it. You know, it's only been used one time, so it's very gently used. And it's just a cute palette. I think it'll make a great addition to anybody's collection. And it'll be a good way for me to let go of some more palettes. So I will go ahead and declutter. Okay, now my declutter pile is starting to climb up a little bit. So we're actually doing better than I thought. We just kind of had to get into the process here. So we just have a couple more palettes left. Let's go ahead on to the next one, which is the Copacetic Cosmetics Companion Palette. And this palette is basically what it says it is. It's a companion palette. It's great to pair with other palettes or other eyeshadows, like, because you can see it doesn't have any matte shadows in here. So it's mainly just an eyeshadow topper palette. It's stunning. I do really enjoy all of these. I've used them all on different occasions and do really enjoy the formula. Copacetic Cosmetics is an indie black-owned brand, and I do want to continue to support Copacetic, but I don't want that to be the reason I'm going to continue to hold on to this. I just don't use it. Of course, story of my life, and I'm trying to get better about decluttering. So as much as this kills me, I think I'm going to just go ahead and let this one go for now. I'm going to declutter it. Oh, it's hard because it has these beautiful shades right here that are called like flakies, and they're like a crumbly, soft, metallic shade that is like real flaky. It's just, they're beautiful, but I'm just gonna let it go. Time to let it go. I'll let somebody else get some possible enjoyment out of it. I think it'll be a great addition or companion to somebody else's collection. So for now, I'm gonna go ahead and declutter. Up next is the MAC Art Library Nude Model. Now, this was just sent over through Nordstrom Rack. Now, Nordstrom Rack reached out to me over on Instagram and sent me over like a $200 voucher. Told me to go on the website and pick out whatever I wanted, essentially. So I went over there and I picked out a variety of different things, and this was included because surprisingly, I don't own any MAC eyeshadows, which is crazy to say considering I'm a palette collector of sorts and I don't own any MAC shadows. So I figured why not grab this neutral one to really help me dive in and see how MAC's shadows and formula works in general. I know, of course, MAC is a fan fave of so many people for so long. So because I did just buy this, I'm definitely going to go ahead and hold on to it for now. It is what it says it is, a nude palette, and I wanted to go ahead and hold on to it and just test out the formula and see what I think of it. So for now, I will go ahead and hold on to it. Up next is my Pinky Rose Bright Lights palette. Stunning, beautiful, vibrant palette that I absolutely adore still. I've had this palette for probably close to 3 years at this point, and she never disappoints. Like, yes, it does have some of the glitters in there, but those glitters are really, really pretty. They really complement the palette, and they really complement any kind of looks that I create with this palette. This is a great palette because if I really need a vibrant, colorful matte shade that I can reach in here for any one of those, and that's what I use it a lot for. Not to mention I also create with this palette a lot as well. It's perfect for the spring and summer, which is quickly approaching. So for now, I'm going to go ahead and continue to hold on to her because I do really love Pinky Rose Cosmetics as a brand. Up next is my Be Perfect Carnival 3 palette, the Love Tahiti with Stacey Marie. Probably one of my favorite palettes that I own in my entire collection. This palette is just beautiful. Stunning, stunning palette. Every look that I create with her is absolutely beautiful. It's just a gorgeous all-around palette. I definitely am not letting go of her. I don't have the heart to let go of this palette just yet, but who knows? Opinions change, feelings change, and maybe this time next year I might be ready to let it go, though I doubt it. It's a great palette. So I'm definitely going to go ahead and continue holding on to her. Up next is my Juvia's Place, the Masquerade palette, and this is a fan favorite for a very long time for a very good reason. There are some very rich shades in here. I also love how diverse it is. So you have some colorful eyeshadows on the top if you wanted to really get colorful, and then you have your neutral version down on the bottom 2 rows. I just wish it wasn't so big, but it is beautiful. Oh, the formula of their shimmers are just to die for. There's some really great shimmers in here. I just wish some of these more colorful shades weren't all shimmer shades, but they are. Looking at it though, I think actually it's time for me to say goodbye and let her go, just because I don't really get a whole lot of use out of her. I don't know what it is and why I've been decluttering some of my Juvia's Place palettes that I thought I never would let go of. So that definitely shows growth in me on, you know, just being able to let go of palettes a little bit more better. It's very gently used. Somebody else can get some love out of it. So I'm actually going to go ahead and declutter her. I'm really sad to see it go, but it's time to let it go. So, and last but not least, for part 2 of my declutter is the ColourPop Stone Cold palette. Now, this is just a beautiful, cool toned, cool palette. Really, really pretty grays in here. Some light mauvey tones over here. You have some really light taupey shades over here. It's just a great versatile palette, and it's really the only bigger palette that I own from ColourPop. But again, I don't want that to be the reason why I want to decide on whether I hold on to palettes or keep them or let them go or not. I mean, she is pretty, but I also have the That's Taupe palette as well as the Going Coconuts palette, which is like the warm tone version of That's Taupe. But if I hold on to those two, then I feel like maybe I should get rid of this one or vice versa. But then again, I don't know, you guys. Oh, this is so hard sometimes to let go of palettes. I think I'm going to go ahead and hold on to it for now just because I just don't have the heart to let it go. I haven't really explored with it too much yet. I really want to try to dive into some of these mauve tones and stuff over here. So for now, I'm going to go ahead and just continue holding on to it and see how well it does this year and on if I get any use out of it. Of course, if come this time next year I haven't used it, then I'll go ahead and let it go. But for now, it's going to be a keep. All right, you guys. So that's everything for part 2 of my 2022 eyeshadow palette declutter series. So I didn't do too bad. I was getting a little hesitant at the beginning of the video, wondering if maybe I wasn't going to let go of as many as I was hoping I would. But then I ended up catching up quite a bit. So on the left here is my declutter pile. And then on the right is my keep pile. So for part 2, I kept 19 and I decluttered 16. So not too bad. A pretty good ratio there, about half and half. And I'm happy with the progress that I've made so far. I will have in the description box of this video the total number of palettes I've decluttered so far, as well as, of course, the bottom of the screen. You'll see the total of number of palettes I've kept so far, as well as how many of palettes I've decluttered so far. So make sure you stick around for part 3 coming very soon. And that's everything for this video, you guys. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss any videos. And let me know, what do you think down in the comment section? Did you see any palettes that you enjoy? Do you think I'm doing okay so far on my declutter for this series? Definitely let me know. And as always, thank you so much for stopping by. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Please don't forget to like it. And until next time, I love you guys so much, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye! Bye!